Fear becomes a stronghold when survival strategies slowly become identity, when unpredictability trains your brain to expect instability. And then you begin building emotional safety nets around control instead of trust. And this is relatable far beyond the sports lifestyle. This is for entrepreneurs, for ministry families, military spouses, freelancers, leaders in any capacity, and for you, the woman who is navigating a calling without guarantees. I'm speaking to any woman whose life lacks predictable security today. Is this thing on? Welcome to Come Sis with me, the podcast, real talk, biblical wisdom, and practical tools. I'm your host, Mia Randall, your wellness architect. Each episode is designed to help you align, release, and create a life you actually want to live. But honestly, it's more like my personal journal that I read aloud to my sisters in the world every week. But hey, come for the stories and strategies, stay for the sisterhood. Let's get into it. For most of my adult life, my security has depended on contracts that renew each year. Sometimes later than that, sometimes after weeks of silence. Welcome to part 3 of this unexpected episode series on my real life as not only a basketball wife, but as, just a woman navigating what it looks like to overcome fear and control and all of the things that want to try to, creep into this lifestyle that I live and rob me of real joy and peace, right? So I want to paint the reality really quick. Overseas basketball wife, there are overseas moves, right? Literally moving from my home country in the States, the US, to Japan every year. Every year that comes with every new season comes with roster decisions that are not made by me and my husband, but affect my husband and I, right? Because the end of one season, the team is trying to figure out if they want to bring him back or if we're going to go to a new team signing and all of those things. And there's an emotional whiplash, is how I would describe it, every season. Because you don't know sometimes. Some people have multi-year contracts. Some people don't change teams. Like, love that for you. Wish that was my life. But it's not. And the reality is that you don't really know these things. This lifestyle has created in anybody. I mean, military spouses, ministry families, leaders in any capacity, entrepreneurs, we live well publicly while privately battling the uncertainties of our lifestyle. And I didn't realize fear had become a stronghold because it looked like responsibility to me. Now, I didn't wake up afraid one day. Fear quietly trained me slowly through repetition over the last several years. So I want to talk about what a stronghold is. When scripture talks about strongholds, many of us imagine like something really dramatic, I think. So I want to bring this very low level for us today because strongholds are usually built quietly. That's why I said I didn't wake up like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of everything. It trained me. It quietly trained me into this repetition of believing this uncertainty was a reality and that I needed to fear it in some way. So it's not dramatic. It comes through experiences that your brain learns from. It's not demons showing up in the corner of your homes, and it's not weakness. But a stronghold is a belief system built through repeated survival experiences that you may have encountered yourself or that may have been passed down to you from previous generations. So a stronghold is a reinforced way of thinking created by repeated experiences that taught you how to survive. It's like a learned mental architecture. And strongholds start as these adaptations. And I'll explain this. So I'll start with repeated uncertainty training vigilance. So when your environment is unpredictable, your brain adapts by becoming what I would call watchful. So contract renews yearly. So I'm watching the quote unquote market. What is a team lacking? What is it that they're looking for? Is it, are we hearing any noise? Like, are any questions being asked about him? And focusing on decisions that are outside of my control. I mean, just up until recently, until the Lord revealed this to me, twice a year, I'm packing up my life into 70-pound suitcases to ship overseas, whether that's going home or coming to Japan. I'm used to making big moves twice a year, and I've had to make big moves now 5 times this year, which very different for me. So my brain was quietly learning stability is temporary, which is fine because in this lifestyle, we do need to learn how to pivot. I do need to know how to, like, leave one thing and move on to the next. But it also activated this vigilance in me, right? So your nervous system begins scanning for what could go wrong. Not because you lack faith, not because I lack faith, but because my brain is trying to protect me. And this is like this survival intelligence. It's not sinful, but it is survival intelligence that has, through repeated uncertainty, has trained this vigilance in me. The other way that this is a cycle here that I'm explaining to you. So that this is the adaptation. The repeated uncertainty trains vigilance, and then the vigilance becomes identity. So how that happens is, at first, vigilance is something that you do, right? Then eventually it becomes who you are. So if I'm not careful, when I call myself the wellness architect, I start thinking that that's my identity, instead of that is the mode in which the vehicle in which the Lord wants to promote and teach and exchange this gift and this grace of doing transitions well in my life to someone else. So examples: I'm just a planner, or I like to stay prepared, or I don't get my hopes up. Like, being careful that those things that I say out of vigilance does not become my actual identity, because identity language forms things that forms beliefs or expectations about yourself, and then you behave out of that. And so my brain now believes safety comes from anticipation, when that's not the truth. The truth is, my safety comes from the Lord. And so I'm learning to stop visiting fear. So then adaptation then becomes identity. This is who I am. Oh, this year I realized, like, some of the things that I thought I was really good at, that that my husband expects from me, that my family, that my friends, that my sisters expect from me. I was like, you can't expect this from me. Not this year, not right now. And once vigilance becomes identity and expectation shifts, you are no longer hoping for stability. You are just preparing for disruption. And that chronic overload in your mind, in your body, in your nervous system, I mean, your brain starts predicting loss before loss. It starts predicting change before change, and disappointment before outcomes. Like, you're being disappointed over things that you actually should be happy for. Like, just living in the moment becomes hard for you, and your body begins reacting to futures that haven't even happened yet. So that is what a stronghold looks like. It is not an immediate lie, it's adaptations of yourself that now have this grip on you. But what's beautiful is in 2 Corinthians 10:4-5, it says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God." If you notice here, Paul doesn't say strongholds are circumstances. He says they are arguments and imaginations. A lot of times, the imaginations for me, right? Like, I'm just imagining the most awkward and weirdest and grandest thing that could be farthest from the truth. Arguments are those internal reasoning patterns. This is absolutely going to happen. No, could it happen? No, it might happen. I don't know. Imaginations is projected futures. This is what's going to happen when this takes place. This is exactly where fear builds its traction. Because a stronghold is not where the enemy lives. It's where your thinking has been trained. And then the enemy attacks you there, right? It's like, oh, you opened the door for me. Let me come in. Thank you. So repeated uncertainty trained my imagination to expect instability. And then 2 Corinthians 10, 4-5 reminded me that that's exactly where warfare happens. So now I need to fight. Now you just need to gear up for war. And using me, this basketball wife, overseas wife reality as your case study, the season ends, uncertainty begins. We're waiting for offers. There's silence from our agent, from teams. There's financial questions because you're not getting paid when you're not in a contract, right? But I budgeted a certain way to get us through that off season. And now we're coming to an end. Now it's looking like we might need to tap into something that I don't want to tap into. And you just got to be prepared, but you don't know. The life that you want to plan gets put on pause. And me as a planner, that being part of my personality, not my identity. Now my nervous system is learning quietly, slowly, adapting, that stability disappears regularly. Like I can never count on stability to be in my life. And now my brain has prepared for loss before loss even happens. And we unknowingly allow fear to become our preparation strategy. I didn't realize this. I thought I was being wise in creating plans and strategies based on fears. I didn't even recognize that it was a fear. My body thought I was surviving, and so it's holding on and storing things when it was really my pseudo wise thoughts telling me things that weren't true. The truth is my environment wasn't unsafe, but my brain learned to treat uncertainty as danger. Where in the Bible does it teach you that uncertainty is danger? A lot of times, Lord don't give nobody no heads up. I'm telling you to go there. You don't need to know what's there. Just go there, right? So how fear builds this stronghold is there's a repeated experience a lot of times, because we like to call our experiences truth, right? When it's just a fact. It has happened. And then your neural pathway creates a place for it to live, to guide through. And now you have this expectation. The brain wires itself around repeated experiences. Whatever happens often becomes what feels normal. I said in the last episode that my husband kept telling me, you may not recognize that stress is in your life because it's so normal to you. You built a neural pathway for it. So when there's high stress times, you're not actually high stress. You're just living normal. And this repeated uncertainty in my life strengthened that. This is science, but the Bible basically tells you, like, be mindful of this because it can happen. If you keep experiencing something over and over again, you're going to create a pathway for it to exist and live and create its own lane. And then the prediction becomes automatic. The brain just starts running off by itself. It's on autopilot now. Your brain stops asking if instability is coming and it starts preparing for when it comes, because it's like, oh, it's going to happen. It already happened so many times. It's going to happen again. What if it doesn't? So now your cortisol is rising earlier and your peace feels unfamiliar. And you're like, oh, I just need peace. I just need peace. Why don't we tell our brains to stop preparing for something that we don't even know is actually going to happen? And so your nervous system can become addicted to anticipation. I'm anticipating. You ever hear somebody say, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop? That is your nervous system addicted to anticipation that you are going to be disappointed. And it's not emotionally addicted, because a lot of times there's no emotional effect coming. This is neurological. You are neurologically conditioned to believe that the shoe is going to, the What is it? The other shoe is going to drop and you're waiting for it. You're preparing for it instead of enjoying what's in the present. Rest feels unsafe. And when nothing is wrong, your mind starts searching for problems. Oh, this is like the exact meaning of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Your mind is searching for problems because there's no problems around. You're like, something's about to happen. It's too quiet in here. Your body feels uneasy, and then calm feels suspicious. Like not like when your 2-year-old is quiet in another room, because you can almost guarantee like something is up, right? But I'm talking about like the atmosphere just feels real calm and you used to chaos. Rest feels unsafe because vigilance has now equaled a safety signal, which is a lie. Peace felt irresponsible because my brain had learned that vigilance equals survival. And that if I'm not being vigilant, if I'm not preparing for what I don't even know is going to happen, but telling myself that it's going to happen, so prepare for it, I'm robbing myself of peace. Last week, I talked about Ephesians 6 and how we need to integrate the full armor of God, right? Because that is where God removes this fear of uncertainty and tells us, hey, if you want to count on anything, bank on that. He equips us. He equips perception. Armor protects our thoughts. Armor protects our interpretations. Armor protects our beliefs, not circumstances. Circumstances got you moving in a different lane. So now I'm not fighting contracts. I'm fighting interpretations of uncertainty. I want my brain to see that uncertainty is okay, and I need to rewire it in a way that the battlefield is not the circumstances that comes with it. It is the meaning that my mind assigns to them. It's okay to be uncertain. Maybe that means a change is on the brink. And I should be welcoming that. I should have peace to welcome that into my life. So I want to take us back to 2 Corinthians 10 really quick. That strongholds are reinforced expectations. They are fear-based predictions. They are survival narratives that our brains have come up with because we've had to survive so much. But the true weapons of God tell us that truth interprets prediction, and that we can lean in this on this. We can lean into that for true peace. What I recognize is once fear becomes expectation, it expresses itself in predictable patterns. So I want to give you 5 fear strongholds that I think they run together. They like a gang. And they like to gang up on us. The first one is control. If I manage everything, I'll be safe. Sheesh. If I can't convince you of anything else today, I just want to pray that the spirit of control leaves you right now so that you don't continue to believe that you have to manage everything in order for it to be safe. In the name of Jesus. The second one is scarcity. What if provision stops? The third one is comparison. And that sounds like they look secure. Why aren't we? Why aren't I? Oh man, early in this season of our lifestyle, I remember constantly saying to myself, my husband does far more than that guy. Why is he not battling for a contract every year? And as soon as the Lord allowed me to switch my perspective, taking my eyes off of everybody else and like turning it to him, comparison started to dwindle away, not just in that area of my life, but in multiple areas of my life. Because the fear, that stronghold once you take ground away in one area, it has no ground to stand in other areas. You're starting to evict it, right? You're evicting this thing. And so even you send it out the front door, if it's evicted, you giving it papers, it can't come back in through the window. It'll try. But you already set a precedence that it doesn't belong there. Abandonment. What if support disappears? What if it does? If we stop telling ourselves that that is abandonment instead of maybe a season has shifted, maybe the time has come where that person or people or situation is no longer life-giving to us. And that's okay. The last one is failure. What if this lifestyle collapses? This, to me, was a really important for me to recognize in this gang. Why? Because when you have lived something for so long, others can make it your identity, and you have to be mindful and careful to not allow others' perceptions of you or predictions of you to then create this narrative that you live from. It's so different for everybody. And so failure in one sense of the word does not necessarily look the same in someone else's lifestyle. So what if this lifestyle collapses? Okay, but is that failure? Or is that failure to me? Or is that failure from the outside looking in? Each of these are connected to some sort of unpredictability in your lifestyle. And that's why I said very early on, like if you're living in any type of transitional, unpredictable season or lifestyle, these are, I guarantee that these things are expressing themselves one way or another. But the turning point that I really want to, hone in on and bring home for us today is like, I realized I wasn't reacting to what God was actually doing. I was reacting to what I feared might happen. And that is a horrible and hard life to live. When you're not trusting God for provision and constantly bracing for disappointment, we're allowing faith to coexist with fear. Because my faith wasn't any less. It's just now it's coupled with fear. Now I'm making it coexist with fear. Poor faith. I'm sorry. Functional anxiety masked as wisdom. People are looking at you like, oh, you have it all together. And it's like, that's functional anxiety. And other people are seeing as wisdom. To God be the glory, because and then you're living this hyper preparation life and replacing peace that you could be living your life out of. And faith is not only a spiritual trust, it is repeated experiences of safety with God that retrain your brain. So how you can practice becoming spiritually, neurologically, and physically safe with the Lord is noticing like when you're anticipating fear coming up. And then interrupt that catastrophic thinking. Like literally cut it off. Cut the snake's head off. Because it just then starts weaving its little way through every other channel that you have created, your brain has created for it to exist. Grounding identity. If I speaking to my fellow overseas basketball wives, ground your identity in something outside of contracts and something outside of your husband's career, outside of your husband's performance, outside of your husband's, praise from everybody. Ground yourself in the identity outside of those things. That's hard because people see him, they see you. Well, they see me and they see him. But I'm someone completely separate than him. My identity exists outside of this life of basketball. What I recognize is supposed to be a part of my identity is that I can transition well. I'm a great pivoter. And that's just not, and that's a part of my personality. But my identity underneath of that is that I am a steward and a proponent and a conduit of wellness. That's who I am. I recognize that because I would hear people say to me, man, I'm just so calm around you. Or I just recently, I met a girl that I've been talking to for years online, but never met her in person. I met her in person and she's like, man, I feel like I've known you for years. Like those things aren't because of my personality. It's because that's who I am. That's literally how God has created me. I'm a safe space for people because I am a conduit for wellness. Another new practice is daily safety signals to your body and your spirit. I'm not talking about like burning sage and the crystal route or don't do those things. I'm talking about creating a plan with the Lord that reminds your body and your spirit that you're safe. And daily, what does that look like? Maybe that's grabbing your favorite book and reading it at night. Maybe that is sitting quietly in the morning with your cup of coffee. Maybe that's having conversations weekly with your spouse about anything. Just signaling to your body and your spirit that you are safe. And creating that. New practices, not Mia's practices, your practices, whatever that is. Faith is not pretending uncertainty doesn't exist. Right? Faith is teaching your nervous system that uncertainty is not abandonment. That uncertainty is not scarcity or failure or comparison or that you have to control something in order for it not to happen. It is simply just accepting that uncertainty does exist and that you're safe in spite of it. Our life may always run on contracts. Who knows? My husband thinks he's going to play forever because he's got like Benjamin Button syndrome. But my peace no longer runs on contracts. My peace does not depend on contracts. So if you are a woman who appears externally stable, but quietly living this internal life based on a contingency plan, I want you to give language to that fear disguises itself as responsibility. That your lifestyle is training your brain to expect instability. That you may not be lacking faith, but you are living a rehearsed fear. And that peace isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's safety that outlives it. Yeah. And I think that this is the end of our series, but I pray that this isn't the end of you working on truly what it looks like to be well in every season of your life, no matter what comes as a result of it. And to not allow strongholds to rob you of the joy and peace that the Lord has already promised you. All right, sis. That's it for this week. I'll see you next week. If today's conversation resonated with you or is meaningful in some way, share it with a sister, follow the podcast, and leave a review. Or if you want to share your story and help shape our sisterhood, go to www www.thewellness/architect.com/podcast and click on share your testimony. We would be honored to hold space for your voice. Thank you for coming for the stories and strategies, but staying for the sisterhood. Until next time, sis, be well.